Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode. Hello, beautiful souls. Rachel Fiori here, and I am here with my co-host today. You know him very well, Danny Morley.
Hello.
Welcome,
Hello.
welcome. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing the stage with me today, Danny.
Of course, it's my honor.
So, Danny and I have a beautiful topic. We're going to talk about how your body keeps score of emotional pain and what that means and how it works and how that affects your level or your ability to actually heal what is inside of you and what gets trapped inside of your body. So, our topic, I know Danny is very passionate about this topic, so I'm going to let you take it from here and we are going to dive in.
Yeah, let's dive in. So many places I'd love to take this conversation, but I'll start with what I was experiencing a couple nights ago, which led to why we're here. And I was very sick, which I want to get into later as well, like what exactly illness is versus like upgrades, like energetic upgrades that our bodies go through. And I was sick. I'm not sure if it was sick or if it was an upgrade, but I was very sensitive. And as I was laying there very sensitive, I could feel a recent tattoo that I got. And I could feel my arm, it was kind of throbbing. And it was kind of what I was experiencing was this heightened level of sensitivities. I am a HSP. And it felt like because I was sick, everything was a little bit more sensitive. I was feeling everything a little bit more. And I couldn't quite tell if I was feeling the pain that was inflicted when the tattoo gun went into my skin, the consciousness of the tattoo artist being his energy being put into my energetic field and I was feeling it right where he did that, or whether it was something else completely. So I'd love to hear your perspective on this, and we'll start there.
Yeah, sure. So, how interesting. So, I love that. I want to point out first, as a highly sensitive person, what Danny's describing. Anybody can pay attention to a tattoo, for example. You just got a tattoo, and really spend the time with your body. Like, how is my body actually affected by this? No, why would you bother to do that? Because it actually trains you in your ability to observe what is happening in your body. And you're going to see when we dive into this topic way more deeply today in this episode that being able to detect and read subtle energies can actually help prevent illnesses. It can help heal you from disease and illnesses because you're actually reading in and observing the subtle energies of the body. So for Danny, you know, you got a tattoo. As a highly sensitive, it is easier for you to go into what is actually happening at the cellular level. And a tattoo is trauma to the skin. Like, it's painful. There's trauma there. So you are reading into the skin saying, what the hell was that? What is happening here? Like, there's going to be inflammation. I mean, there's literally damage to the skin. You're breaking the skin. So that's trauma to the cells at the cellular level. And most people would say, okay, it's a tattoo. Like, okay, it might hurt a little bit. Suck it up. It has nothing to do with that, though. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about when you're really acutely self-aware, what you can do is say, oh, I can pay attention and observe what is happening on my arm at the cellular level. If you really tune in, you can feel what is happening to the cells. And that might sound really kind of far-fetched or out there. When you do this work and you learn the things that we teach at Master Self University, it is not that far out. You become that able and capable to sense what's happening. And the beautiful part about that is, oh, what do you need right now from me? And you can talk directly to your cells, to your arm, to your skin cells, and just say, what do you need from me? Do you need more ice? Do you need this? What can I do to nurture you? Because you just got busted open. You just had trauma. And it's not about over dramatizing the fact that you got a tattoo. It's at a cellular level, your cells went through trauma right there. Oh, well, let's nurture them and say, this is okay. Talk to your cells. So there's just a consciousness there that you can actually open up to and communicate with in order to start to build a really intimate relationship with your own body and your own energetic fields. That's the takeaway from it.
Mm. And just for the listeners, I did get this tattoo about a month ago. So it's not like it was like really raw. It's gone through its like the skin has healed it, you know, in some capacity, but I could feel this throb. And so what I did was I did the work that you taught me. I was laying there, and it was as I was going to sleep, I could really feel it. And I put my one hand on my heart and one hand on the tattoo, and it felt like I was alchemizing. It did feel like I was connecting to the pain, and I was alchemizing. I was processing it. But it was late at night and I fell asleep. And then as I'm less sick now, I feel like that sensitivity is like, it's not as sensitive now. So I can't quite connect to it the same way.
Yeah.
But I'll also mention, I had an injection in my arm when I was 12. Tuberculosis jab. It was mandatory in the UK. I was the last year to have it. And the needle's huge. It's scarred. It looks like a bullet hole wound. And throughout my whole life, I swear I could feel it.
Yep.
And it wasn't until I started doing this work and tapping into my internal energy systems that I was like, oh, I really am actually feeling that. And
Yes.
it would like I could feel the pain still there. And I understand now more after this tattoo, because it started all clicking. I was like, oh, I'm so sensitive that whenever I have something like this, I'm going to feel it for a long time. And I have to do, as you mentioned, the extra layer of healing that HSP requires.
Yeah.
I've got to go in and do that. So
Yeah.
do you think that's probably possible that I could alchemize the pain, like with my heart and my hand?
Absolutely, you can. You absolutely can. It's communicating with the energies and nurturing the pain that is there. Remember, pain is always there for a reason. We don't dismiss and ignore it and act like, oh, suck it up. And we don't baby it either. It's not one extreme. We're not doing polar opposite, things here. We're learning how to live in harmony with ourselves, because only when we learn, that's one of the ways, universal ways of oneness is the way of harmony. If we learn the way of harmony within ourselves, our bodies, our energetic fields, that allows us to elevate higher so that we can live in harmony with other people, other beings, with nature. So we learn, oh, there's something here. So there was a tuberculosis vaccine that I got as a child, and some people would think that that's crazy. You're not feeling. No, there's trauma that went into that arm. And guess what? I'm sure you were very young. I don't know if you remember how old you were, Danny.
I was 11 or 12, and I also really didn't want it. And they had to get 2 women to hold me down and 1 to inject it. There was something inside me that was screaming, I don't need this. I don't want it. But they forced me to have it.
There you go. Right there. Because the sense that I got was that as a young child, there was an emotional trauma with it. And so the throbbing of it has nothing to do with some physical issue in your arm or where the shot was, like some people may think when they hear this. It has nothing to do with that. The pain is a reflection of trapped trauma. This is how your body keeps score of emotional pain. That you had a physical site of an injection that was painful, but simultaneously with that injection was a very emotionally traumatizing moment. You were forced, you were held down, and we weren't raised by enlightened parents. So with the best of intentions that our parents have, we weren't taught in those moments, how do you actually process and alchemize this so it doesn't stay trapped in the body. Remember, we are all energy. Everything in the universe is energy. Energy never dies. It can only change forms. So when you notice and you're doing this work and you're elevating as much as you are, Danny, you'll notice that, oh my gosh, this where I got this shot really is, I can feel it. that's trapped trauma in the body, which is why when you really become a person of presence, the way of presence, and you can observe what is happening inside, around your body and your energy field, when you observe those, you are able to then go in and actually alchemize and nurture and love and treat old traumas that are trapped in the body. That when we have an accumulation of those, that's what creates the dis-ease in the body, leads to disease and problems as we get older that have nothing to do with age. It does have to do with the accumulation of our trapped traumas and unhealed pain. They stay in the body forever unless you go in and learn how to alchemize them.
Fantastic. Thank you. I want to take this next to last year. I've mentioned this on the podcast. I got a parasite in Peru. It led to me taking a very heavy dose of antibiotics to get rid of it. Very grateful for the Western medicine because the parasite kills 100,000 people a year. So it's like serious. It cleared out the parasite, cleared out my gut, and caused a fungus overgrowth. And I've been healing this for like the past, I'd say like 8-9 months. It's a very long, slow process to reconstitute your gut.
Yep.
And at first I wasn't looking at through the lens of, oh, this was for a deeper reason. It was more of just like, oh, well, this happened to me, so I need to do this. And it's only been in the past week that the pennies really dropped, that it's like, the reason why this happened is probably because of something in my solar plexus. And the couple days that this clicked, I went to go watch one of the past recordings of our classes. And the first thing you started talking about was that the solar plexus relates to your personal power. One of my biggest wounds in this lifetime is powerlessness. And what I've started to notice, even though I was on vacation for a couple of weeks just now, even though I was not eating the cleanest of diet, I was stepping more into my power, more and more and more on this vacation. And the symptoms that I feel, the inflammation in my joints, even though I was eating the same diet, they were starting to decrease. And it felt like I was healing, even though I wasn't sticking to a low inflammatory diet, which contradicts everything that I'd read.
Yep.
And it started to get me to believe like, wow, everything really is energy. And when we look at, it's important to take care of our bodies. And that's one of the things that it taught me. It taught me about the energies of food. And when I put things in, what does it do to my body and how much inflammation does it cause? But what I realized last week or this past week was that I'm never going to fully heal by just working on diet, which is everything that I believe is like, it's a dualistic approach. As you teach, we are dynamic beings, both spiritual, energetic, souls coming down here, but also a human being having a human experience as well as a spiritual one on earth.
Yes.
And so to just look at things from the diet perspective was completely neglecting this whole issue of the reason why it probably started and why I energetically attracted this parasite in, because I needed to work on my personal power.
Yeah. You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. Absolutely. We learn, I'm going to go back to the way of harmony. That means to be in balance. To be in balance means we can't just look in that linear tunnel vision way of ourselves, meaning our health isn't about the outdated Western medicine, approach, Newtonian scientific approach, that we are just these physical bodies. That it's false science. First of all, you want to talk about science? It's absolutely false science. It is outdated, inaccurate. It also does not take into consideration the all-encompassing energetic fields, that we are soul having a human experience and that everything is energy, et cetera, et cetera. So we have to look at things on all levels in a holistic approach. And the physical body is the last thing for things to show up. They are in our energy fields first. They are in our mental bodies. They're in our emotional, subtle body that surrounds our body, and we have several layers. And they don't all matter in this conversation, but just for people to hear that in the different energetic layers surrounding your physical body, the mental body layer, energetic layer, feeds down into the emotional body, which feeds down into the etheric body, and that doesn't matter for now, but that feeds down into the physical body. So if you just remember, for those listening, mental body, emotional body, physical body, then what you understand is whatever's trapped in your mental body is going to seep down in and have an effect on your emotional body. That's when people out there try to teach you things like your thoughts create, emotions. Depending on what you're thinking, your emotions will then be triggered of the same vibrational frequency. More accurately, we understand unhealed stuff, trapped pain, emotional pain, the thoughts of what happened, the fear that we were thinking, the confusion, the anger, the fight, flight, or freeze, that's trapped in your mental body. And then whatever emotions that triggered, like the fear or the frustrate, those are emotions, right? That's in your emotional body. So those now energetically have been created. And what happens is those seep down and feed into your physical body over and over for your whole life. If they're in there, trapped in your energy fields, that means they're trapped inside of you, which means that affects how you think, what you perceive as reality. When somebody speaks, what you hear, interpret, or misinterpret are based on all those programs that got created. And the same thing emotionally. And those are the things that get trapped inside of us that create not only our programs, our reactions to things, it also creates our physical health and wellness. Our physical health and wellness. You see it all the time in people. A simple example is breast cancer. There is a lack of nurturing in people, in women who get breast cancer. When you go back and you do this work and you see how were they raised, almost always there was a lack of nurturing from one or both parents, disengaged, lack of nurturing. Okay. And because of that, they learned a lack of nurturing within themselves. So they'll show up as adults in one of two ways. They either always put themselves last because they've learned they don't matter, or they live in this victim consciousness. They're desperate for people outside of them are supposed to be the ones to nurture them because your parent was supposed to be the one to nurture you when you were really little. And that will show up in women in the form of breast cancer. That will almost always, you can link it back like clockwork. Energetically, you can see the lack of nurturing programs that exist in a person, which manifest eventually into breast cancer. And for men, it usually shows up in heart attack or heart disease is how it shows up in men.
Yeah, I mean, heart attack is any cardiovascular disease is very popular in men.
Yep.
And that's really interesting to hear you say. It reminds me of something I heard Zach Bush say. He was talking about how cancer is, if you look at the cancer, it is a disconnection from the rest of the system of the body, and it's a reflection of the way that we are all disconnected from the oneness that we are, and that what we're seeing in terms of cancer is a reflection of the lack of unity and oneness that we have in the collective. What would you like to comment on that?
So that's a beautiful place to start. And I love that he's sharing that, because there is truth in that. But I'm going to go even deeper with it and bring it down to be a little bit more acute, is that lack of connection is our individual lack of connection to our divinity.
Yes.
Our higher soul, which means when quote unquote bad things happen in life, when traumatic things happen, when things happen that are really emotionally painful or scary or challenging, and that's life. I mean, those things are going to happen in life. When a loved one passes away and there's grief and it's very hard or unexpected and it was a shock. I mean, this is normal human experience. So our lack of connection to our own individual divinity is where it has to start. Because when we don't have that connection, we collect these traumas. They get attached and they become a part of our energetic fields, which means they become a part of us as a personality, as a physical body. They become a part of us, period, end. They're not healed, they're not processed, they're not alchemized. If we are disconnected from our own divinity, as we move through life, of course, we're going to be disconnected from other people in a healthy way, which means we seek for superficial connections, the followers, the likes, the validation, the relationships, to fill me up. You have to make me happy. It's superficial connection that we seek out and we don't realize it. And because of that, yes, more programs, more traumas, more situations where we feel abandoned, for example. And then those energies, those programs that become a part of us affect our body. Every one of those programs is like a cancer in our energetic fields. Every unhealed trauma that is trapped in us is like a cancer. So, of course, a lot of them are going to end up manifesting itself as an actual form of cancer of whatever kind. But you can even break it down more acutely to see that, yeah, like a simple one that I give the example to is what I just mentioned, a lack of nurturing program. Those programs usually create breast cancer in women, heart attacks, heart disease in men.
Fantastic. One of the experiences I've had with all this was a couple of months ago, when I felt this energy awaken in my body. And I've struggled a lot with tightness. And I remember working with a mobility coach last year, and her words were, I feel like we're planting seeds in the desert, as if to say, all the work you're doing in the physical body is pointless because there's something causing tension within you that is beyond my scope.
Yes.
And when I started having this energy rise, the Kundalini energy rise within me, it was having me stretch in all these positions, and it was having me release. And it was this lesson of like, you've been holding on for so much energy, so scared, so much control, so much fear. And then it finally started to let go. And I noticed I wear a Garmin watch, and it tracks my heart rate variability. So it measures how well I'm rested, basically. And after that experience, I was hitting 100% recovery every day for a week, which I've never come close to in my life.
Wow.
And it was like my parasympathetic system finally got switched on. It's like, it's finally time to rest. You've been... And that was the feeling that I like when I was tapping into the energy as it was releasing. It was like this scared, anxious thing inside of me, and it made so much sense. I haven't reached out to, but why that mobility coach was like, whatever we're doing isn't working. You've got something deeper going on there.
Yeah, that's so beautiful that you shared that. So you can see these things cause our physical body to have injuries, to have tightness, to not heal or recover. I mean, imagine if professional athletes added this to what they already do, the way that they train, the way that they take care of themselves.
Exactly.
If you think about any athlete, even, professional or not, any athlete, but when you understand, a lot of times people are prone to injury or a slow recovery with the best of the best in the industry. Now professional athletes is a great example of this. They have the best of the best in the industry to rehabilitate them physically, but they're not treating emotionally what caused that injury or that accident to begin with. And there's where you have somebody who stays in a prone to get re-injured again. There's where you have somebody who got an injury and they're out the whole season, where they think maybe only 6 weeks, or, whatever, details don't matter. It's, if you do the emotional healing and the energetic work with the physical recovery, if you had this work when you were doing your, working with your mobility coach, for example, it would have made a world of difference in what you were able to achieve physically, because you were transforming energies, you were alchemizing energies, you were healing on an emotional, a mental, and energetic level that will completely change your physical body and your body's ability to make progress, to heal, to recover faster. This is that holistic approach. We are not just physical bodies. We are energetic beings. There's more to us than we can physically see. And when you treat on all of those levels, the sky's the limit. I mean, forget it.
Yeah, and what I've experienced is when you heal the emotional side, the speed at which your physical body then heals is
Exactly.
way quicker. Like
Exactly.
it could have maybe I would have got there, but I don't think I would have because the tension was in there. But I could have spent my whole life stretching. Like I love going to yoga, but it was like I was running into a brick wall. It just wasn't
Yep.
working. And then as soon as I started working with the energy and releasing that, the energetic transformation happens, in a quantum speed. So
Yeah.
it's happening like right in
Yes.
front of your eyes. Now, Rachel, you've been doing this for a long time. Is there any clients that come to mind that have had like any miraculous physical recoveries from doing this emotional healing?
Yeah. I have a couple stories actually of people that I worked on energetically, and they had a very quick, fast, kind of miraculous recovery with things. So I'll give one example. One example is a woman who she I'm in the United States. She was in the UK. And so I just did a remote energetic healing on this woman, and working on everything that I worked on energetically with her. She had been in a wheelchair for, gosh, this was a long time ago. So I could be wrong when I say this, but it was at least a couple of years, if not 4, 5 years. I don't know, remember how long. She could stand and pivot. And anybody in physical rehabilitation, she could transfer, toilet transfer, bed transfer on her own. For anybody that doesn't know what that means, with some assistance, she could stand up from her wheelchair and move over to get into her bed when she was time to go to sleep and get out of her bed. She could do that on her own with assistance about 50% of the time. She could do that to get onto the toilet, to go to the bathroom and get off of the toilet, even though around half of the time she needed help with that. I'm letting you know that she wasn't fully paralyzed. Okay. But she hadn't actually gotten up and walked and taken steps in years. When I did this work on her, I got an email hours later and again the next day. And I think she sent me 3, 4, 5 to give me updates over like a week. A couple hours after I did the healing on her, she stood up and walked. She was just
Wow.
walking. And she was like, her whole family was freaking out. She was like, I'm walking. I'm walking. I haven't walked in years. I'm walking.
Oh.
And she could walk. And so, then it was a matter of, what was interesting was I let her know, you understand, this is gifting you a way to now address all the reasons why you got here. And there's a lot more healing that needs to be done. And that's emotional, and that's also physical. You need to take your diet and your health more seriously, et cetera, et cetera. I said, if you don't do that, this will not last, because there are emotional reasons why you're here. So just to use that as an example is not just, well, you can walk now. Now there's nothing more that needs to be done, and she knew that if she took her emotional health, her mental health seriously, she would continue to recover and she would continue to heal. But if not, we recreate these things. That woman will be right back in that wheelchair.
Yeah.
However long that takes, who knows? Who cares? You're not just walking now forever. Like, there's more to it than that. There's different levels and layers of healing. You got here for a reason. So, we have to look at healing as our gift to help boost us in the right direction, to give us some more space, some grace, so that we can then go in and do the deeper work that needs to be done. No different than having an accident or a major injury and you only work on the physical aspect of it. If there are emotional components, trapped traumas in the body, because the body always keeps score. If there's trapped traumas and the only thing you do is focus on the physical, you are not healing the cause of that injury to begin with. It doesn't matter if it happened in the middle of your game. No, it was basketball that did it. I tripped. No, that isn't actually why. trapped traumas have to try, they're trying to release themselves, and they will release themselves through injuries, through accidents if need be, in order to encourage you to go in deeper and do the healing work.
Yeah, I've been struggling with this IT band problem, which is a tendon that runs down the side of your leg for a very long time, 4 years. And I tried a physical therapist and it helped. And what happened? It would heal and then it would come back. Yep. And then that was what led me to I tried, I think, two physical therapists, one mobility coach, a bunch of my own self-coaching for years, and then a running coach, all of which, and now I'm on a different system, all of which have still not healed the issue. So all these experts in the field, some of them can temporary heal. And then now that I understand, because it's in my mental body, the mental field, the highest part, until I really heal the powerlessness that is within there, I'm always going to experience this pain. Even if I heal it physically, it's just going to come back.
Yes.
And with the example with the woman that's walking, you went in and you did some psychic healing on her, but she still had to then do the work, because otherwise whatever you've temporarily helped her with may undo. And this is where I've also had an experience with psilocybin. I did a few trips and I thought I was completely healed of my depression. This was maybe like 2-3 years ago. And I can relate back now that it gave me this temporary window for me to experience life.
There you go.
In a more of a healed fashion. But because the wound, the pain, the emotional pain was still in there. Exactly. Whatever it did was a temporary movement of energy, a temporary healing. And then my deeper wounds and programs were always going to then take over,
seep back in.
Yeah. And change the way everything's operating.
Exactly. That's what, so a lot of people don't realize with plant medicine. Here's one of the beautiful gifts of plant medicine. One of the things that it does, I'm going to talk energy now. Directly outside of your physical body, the closest energy field surrounding your physical body is the etheric energy field. Okay. And people that can't relate to this, it's okay. Don't worry about it, but just understand there is several layers to your energy field around your body. And the very first one, the closest to your physical body, just is the etheric body. Okay. That body, when you do plant medicine, not all of them, but the purpose of some plant medicines that people use, it actually expands out your etheric body. It expands it. So there's an expansion that takes place with certain types of plant medicine. And it then, because it expands, you feel the spaciousness there. It allows you to see things, more of what's in there. It allows you, when people talk about being in an expanded state, energetically, it is expanding your etheric field, your etheric body. And that creates the spaciousness to see all the beautiful things you need to see. It also creates the expansion of the negative things in there, which is why how I guide people to use plant medicine is never to go do plant. This is just what I recommend. Never go do plant medicine if you're not doing deep work first. Because if you don't know how to handle the negative programs, the traumas that are in there, if they show themselves and they are expanded, and that's what shows itself to you during that time that you were under the influence of the plant medicine, that's where you hear people talk about really bad trips and like I had a traumatic experience and I wasn't recovered and afterwards I was worse off. Well, because you didn't go into it responsibly enough. That's not a judgment. It's just we have to wake up to this. You didn't go into it responsibly enough to say, I'm going to do healing first. Then I'm going to let plant medicine expand me. Okay. And when it expands me, I get to see the things that I need to focus more on my healing, the stuff that's not healed. And after that experience, you are meant to dive in and do the deep work. You're not done because you did it you were part of plant ceremony medicine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not, we don't do it the right way. So
I always tell people there's no such thing as a bad trip. It's just bringing up something that you don't want to experience that's
Yes,
already within you. It's something that
exactly.
you've suppressed and repressed. And I know this because it's happened to me.
Ah,
But what I would recommend is, if anyone is interested in this, is to come to MSU, learn
yes,
our work. And once you've learned how to properly process emotion, how to alchemize pain that arises, how to really elevate and tap into the love and the power that you are, then you're free to go do whatever you want. And
yes,
once you found that power within yourself, when you go bring it to these kind of substances, you will have a completely different experience,
yes,
and it will hopefully be something that can elevate you. The
yeah.
next thing I'd love to touch on is your upgrades and the difference between illness and your body going through a transformation. Now, I'm not going to say the word because I'm sure the bots will be listening, but I know that some people believe that that was a huge upgrade for humanity, and there could be truth in that. I don't know how you feel about that, or whether you want to even answer that. But definitely I really resonate with the idea that when we get sick, maybe all the time, I'd love to hear you know, that when we get sick, it is our body purging out the old. It's old parts of us dying. It's releasing the density, making way for the light that we brought in through a healing. This doesn't happen when you're not, I'm guessing, on not on the healing path, or maybe it does, but slightly in a less elevated way. But I know I've had these upgrades myself where I felt like I've got really sick or I'm really
Mhm.
in pain, and I know that you go through them as well. So there's lots of little talking points for you there. I'd just
Yeah.
love to hear your thoughts on all of that.
Yeah, so there's a connection, but they are not one and the same, to be sick and have an illness and to have an upgrade. But I will say first that your energetic upgrades to expand yourself as a human, as a soul, like the physical body needs to upgrade to a higher energetic state, and that will always feel like you're sick. It will feel like you're sick. So it feels, unless you're really good at reading subtle energies, if you're really good at reading subtle energies, then you can tell this is a massive upgrade I'm going through. Otherwise, if you're not really good at reading subtle energies, it just feels like you're sick and you feel terrible. You feel like shit. It feels exactly like an illness, like the flu. There can be a lot of different symptoms where you're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm getting sick. My body's aching, my throat hurts. I feel like low energy, and I feel like I have a fever. A lot of different symptoms, but you're just going through an energetic upgrade. I will say this: people who do this work, this deep level of work that we offer at Masters of Self University, will go through this sometimes. They'll have their massive healings, really deep, really powerful healings. And then they're like, oh my God, like a couple days later, the next day, I felt so sick. And it's like, well, you expanded and created this healing, all this light came into your physical body. And now your physical body has to upgrade itself and vibrate at a higher frequency in order to be able to maintain and sustain this new elevation that you're functioning at. So when that occurs, the physical body will feel like, oh, I'm sick. This hurts. This is uncomfortable. It's an expansion. So
Mm,
the other analogy that I will give to make it simple for people to understand: if you get a really good workout and your muscles get really sore, you don't say, oh my God, I'm sore. Oh, body, you're terrible. It's just like, oh, I'm so sore, but I got a really good workout. And that's why I know I worked my body out really good, because I can barely stand up and down now. I can barely get off the toilet. My ass hurts. You did a really good workout. Energetically, the same thing happens. When you work these energetic muscles, you're expanding, you're becoming more powerful, you're elevating. And yet, because of that, the physical body will go through upgrades. Upgrades will be given to you, and they will also be created by you. Both.
mm,
You'll just go through one, they will be created by you. Why? Because you're doing the deep work on yourself, and then the physical body's got to catch up and be at a higher vibrational, healthier frequency, more elevated
mm,
frequency. Now, illnesses, Yes, illnesses can come. You can get a sickness, and that could actually lead to you upgrading yourself. I mean, think about this. Antibodies get formed, your body's natural defenses kick in when you get the flu or you have a certain sickness. There's a nature, you are nature.
Mm-hmm.
You're not separate from nature. So something foreign comes in, the body does what it does to help heal and detox and clear out whatever that foreign, toxic substance might be, whatever that virus might be, whatever we could be talking about. So the body will go in to high gear in order to help naturally heal these things. The problem is we are so unhealthy as a humanity at an energetic level. All the toxins we take in, all the poisons that are in our food, the lack of sunlight that we get, that we need every single day in order for our mitochondria to work well, in order for all these things in the system to be at optimal levels of health energetically, so that our body can fight these things off and heal us in a natural way, the way that it's meant to do. When you don't have a fast healing of things, it's because stuff is offset out of balance. There's disharmony. Your body isn't harmonized. So a foreign substance comes in and invades your body. How well your body is able to heal that thing is dependent on a multitude of variables. We can't put it in one category like it's black and white, because it's not. If you're in poor health physically, you're going to have a harder time fighting something off and healing from it. If you're in a poor state of health energetically with a bunch of trapped, unhealed traumas, whether you are aware of them or not, guess what? It is also going to be that much harder for your body to heal from whatever it is that the body is, quote unquote, fighting off. And this is where holistic health comes in, and learning about energetics comes in. To people can be at a much higher level of wisdom, awareness, health on all levels, when they have the awareness that they are not just this physical body, they are a full energetic system, and energies are working for or against you at all times. And when you learn this level that we teach at Masters of Self University, you start to take your own health into your own hands on much higher levels than you've ever been taught before. We have to take all of these things into consideration.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all that. And in terms of, I guess before we wrap things up, I'd love you to touch on the chakra system. I know that you taught us the chakra system is now upgraded, and it's no longer the seven dimensional, well, not dimensional, seven chakras that you're used to, and there's many more. But how do they play into the energy, the emotional pain, and the energy that we feel in the body? Because I know for me, whenever I mean, with this particular parasite wound that we'll talk about, that whole thing, it's very clear to me that something was going on in my solar plexus. There was some blockage in here, and I think there still is. It's still releasing. It's not fully healed, but because of that blockage, it was causing something in like the intestinal, stomach, area. Is that always how it works? And yeah, just how does it work?
Yeah, so our subtle bodies, our energetic fields, all the layers, think of them as layers. Those layers feed directly in to our chakra system. And these are energetic, like power systems, inside of our body. And those energy systems feed into the life, the health, the vitality of the physical body. So I want to go back and I mentioned the etheric body directly outside of the physical body. That is where our life force energy is located. I really want everybody to take that in for a minute and realize what I just said. Our life force energy is located outside of our physical body. That is the vitality of our body is fed through that energetic layer outside of our physical body. That's what gives our physical body life. That's the energetic field that gives health and life and vitality to our physical body. Okay. So when you understand that we are made as these incredible multidimensional energetic beings, that consciousness comes into, our soul comes into, to have this tangible person, physical body experience and life on earth, we understand that we are a complex dynamic system made of nothing but energy. And our energy centers, our chakra system, yes, completely had to upgrade. We have not just 7 in-body chakras anymore. There are 8 in-body chakras, 15, and we have countless chakras, by the way, all over, inside and outside of the body. But the main ones are now more considered to be a 15 body chakra system. And right behind your belly button is the navel chakra. That is a new chakra that is now considered in the 8 in-body chakras that we have. It's not just 7. We've upgraded because all of humanity is being challenged to upgrade and elevate and raise their level of consciousness to vibrate at higher vibrational frequencies. The old 3rd dimensional chakra system cannot vibrate at those frequencies anymore. They just can't. It's like an old engine in a car that's died and you can't repair it anymore. You have to just take the whole engine out and put a new engine in the car, and then the car will run again. The car will be great. Our engines, our old 3rd dimensional chakra system is gone. It died. It cannot handle the energies that we are now working with, that we are healing with, that we are elevating to. It's too much for the system, which means the physical body couldn't handle it. So as the chakra system upgraded, our physical bodies have to upgrade with it. And so when you think about it in terms of, you have an energetic system, 15 main chakras, then yes, inside of those energy centers are all of our unhealed stuff, our trapped, unhealed emotional pain and traumas. They get blocked and clog and interfere with those energy centers in the body, which in turn interfere with the functioning of the physical body itself. There's your dis-ease in the body, your disease, your problems, your pain, your out of balance energies that cause sickness, that make you more prone to becoming sick, that make you more prone, that affect your DNA. I mean, it's just the domino effect goes on and on and on. When we really learn how to open up to the fact that we are not just physical bodies, because that's just old, outdated. It's just ridiculous that we even think that anymore. We are energetic systems. We have full energetic systems. When we open and expand to that, it is a lot easier to understand why we have aches and pains and tightness or diseases or cancer or all of these things. Like, oh my God, that's just trapped trauma. This is the easiest way to think about it. You have a problem, you have an illness, you have high blood pressure, you have a disease, you're becoming diabetic. That's trapped, unhealed trauma. To heal that, stop going to just pop in prescription shit like Western medicine gives you, and learn to heal on all levels, all energetic levels. That is a holistic way to heal. The physical body heals much faster and becomes back in harmony, becomes in balance, and you are actually the one that learns how to become the harmonizer of your own energetic system, your own physical body, and you are the one that can help be the leader in bringing yourself back to health.
Do you see all the different manifestations of the pain in the physical body as a communication, like as a teacher? It's
Yes.
like, I got a couple of months ago, I got really interested in Chinese medicine, and I was trying to look at all the different, because I was trying to figure out, well, I've got this pain and this pain. And then I realized that the body is a system, that it's all interwoven.
Yes.
And that I can't pinpoint and say, oh, well, this is that. And at least that was my opinion of, like, I really respect Chinese medicine, but it's like, oh, you've got knee pain, well, there could be fear, and there's like a big long list. It's like, but all those big list of things are interwoven into my 10 core wounds.
Yes.
So like to just try and heal one of them, it didn't quite work for me, but it was interesting to see how they have mapped out emotional pain relating to the physical body. Do you ever have clients that come to you with diseases or physical stuff and you just focus on that? Or do you look at, like, you take what okay, they're struggling with this. Let me apply my method. Let me tap into their fields. Let me do the
Yes.
healing and let's watch it resolve, kind of thing.
Yes. That's exactly what I do. And you know, Chinese medicine and all the different forms and arts of, you know, ancient medicine, they're wonderful. They are beautiful. I honor them. They're amazing. They're you know, some of them are coming back and being honored a little bit more and a little more well known. But one of the things that we offer at Masters of Self University is to try to make things as simple as possible. You can spend a lifetime studying that. And you should. I mean, those who are drawn to it, study it. It's incredible, but it is extraordinarily intricate. You're not learning something in a weekend when it
Yeah.
comes to learning something like that. I mean, you're spending years, maybe a lifetime, to dive in and learn everything that you need to learn. You can do it a little more simply, because I like things to be simple. I like things to be as efficient, as fast as possible, within reason, without it being some quick hack, like unrealistic. It's your everyday life will show you what needs to be healed. That's why we teach that here at MSU, and our coaches will teach you that in our coaching programs. When you are triggered a little bit and you learn to do a body scan throughout your day, an energetic scan of what's really going on inside of me, what are my emotional programs, what are my mental programs, what is getting triggered, that will always link you back to what is trapped in your energetic fields, what is trapped inside of the body that needs to be alchemized. It's showing you what's a part of you. The physical pain is another form of communication that says there's a trapped, unhealed something here. And yet it can be a lot harder to dissect and connect the dots back to the original source, the wound, whatever's unhealed, when it's your shoulder. Because here's what I have found over the years. In the books that I read many, many years ago, and boy, did I read a shit ton of them. There's a lot of beautiful books out there that say, oh, you know, if it's your knee, it usually means this. And if it's your lower back, it usually means that. And if it's your shoulder, it usually means, and it doesn't mean those things aren't true. It's just what I have found is not true. It's not cookie cutter. It's not true 100% of the time for everybody. You can have some really funky things in your body going on. You got this funky thing over here going on. And because of that, it's like, well, I read in a book, it might mean this, and it could be nothing remotely. So the easier way that I have found over the years in the work that I've created is, what are your triggers? What are your programs? And learning how to connect those to a wound. When you get to the wound of, say, powerlessness, there was a trauma, created a massive amount of powerlessness. What else did that powerlessness create within you then? And that's this work. You learn, okay, so massive amounts of powerlessness, but also means control programs. It also means lack of safety. It also means a lack of trust in myself. I lack the confidence in myself to handle devastating things and be able to get through it. So I lack trust. Where else does that show up in your relationships or in your life? They're all connected. When you just find out what programs am I running because I got triggered by this thing, it will take you to the parts of you that need to be loved, nurtured, and healed. You heal those, you're healing the things that are causing the disease or the physical pain.
Boom. Right there.
It's done.
That's it. And you know, with the Chinese medicine stuff, it comes back to like the holistic thing of like Western science, amazing for some things, but they don't look at things from this bigger perspective. And this was what I was experiencing with Chinese medicine, is respect as a discipline, found it very interesting.
Yeah.
But it seemed too small of a focus. And it is far easier to just go in and start working on healing all of it. Because do you know what? Even if you heal something that isn't the thing that's causing you pain that you're experiencing right now, that's probably going to cause you pain at some point in the future. So you may as well just adopt a simple method like yours that systematically goes through and allows you to heal everything rather than just this one thing. Like, oh, I've got pain here. Well, yeah, but you also might get pain here. So anyway, thank you so much for this time. I really appreciate it. And I'll give you the mic and let you finish up with anything that you want to add before we go. Thank you.
Thank you. But always such an honor, Danny. You're amazing. And thank you. I just want to thank our listeners. Thank you for tuning in. If you find this interesting and fascinating and you're learning things, please make sure you subscribe. Give us a thumbs up because we appreciate that very much. And also be sure to share this with everybody that you know. Don't forget, we have incredible, highly trained, expert, highly skilled coaches that are certified in multi layers of the work that we share a little bit about on this podcast. So be sure to go to mastersofselfuniversity.com. Make sure you sign up, get a free consultation with one of our coaches. If you're ready to dive deep and you're serious about healing, serious inquiries only, please. We ask that you honor that. But if you're serious, don't hesitate to go in and check us out. Get a free consultation from one of our coaches, and let's start your healing journey at the deepest level possible. That's why we're here. That's what we do. So thank you all to all the listeners. Thank you, Danny. I
Thank
love
you.
you. You're
Love
amazing.
you.
And we'll see everybody else in the next podcast. Bye,
Till next
everybody.
time.